everybody, and welcome back to the Come Play podcast. On this episode, we're going to talk about the OBJ contract. We're going to talk about MW2 coming to Xbox One, and we're going to have a little bit of a college football preview, previewing what teams we think will make the championship games from each conference. And with me today, I have, as always, Bobby, Brendy, and Zach. Say what's up, guys.
What's up, guys?
What's going on,
Okay.
fellas?
As always, we're going to start off with our quick picks, which is just our quick topics and stories.
Hopefully quick this time.
Yeah, hopefully a little bit quicker, but we're not promising anything. First story we have is Manu Ginobili retiring from the NBA after, I believe, let me see here, 16 seasons, which a long career. Always will remember him, obviously, as a Spur. That's where he spent his whole career. But it's weird, man. Like, that big three is gone. Tim Duncan, obviously, has been retired for a while. You had now Ginobili and Tony Parker left this offseason. So it's going to be a different look team, for next year and years to come. And also they got Kawhi, obviously, which is going to also – or Kawhi left, rather, which is also going to be weird.
So do they have anybody, like any kind of star power anymore?
They got DeRozan from the Kawhi trade. He's going to be their guy.
Okay.
I don't really consider DeRozan much of a star, though. Like a star, maybe, but not a superstar. That's not
I would agree with that. Yeah. I don't think he's a superstar either. He's not like top 10 or anything, but he's a good player.
But Manu Ginobili, man, like he's been a professional for 23 seasons, like 16 NBA and then the rest EuroLeague.
That's what I was gonna say. Like one thing with Ginobili is like not only has his NBA career been amazing, but like he's one of those guys that has international. Like he's done really well internationally as well. He won Olympic gold in 2004, for example.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Won a silver in the World Cup in 2002.
Yep. So yeah, Ginobili, 4-time NBA champion. The big thing there, but he's a 2-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, 6th Man of the Year in 2008, and like I said before, Olympic gold medalist. So, quite the resume. He should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Would you guys agree? Or I know, Brendy, you're the NBA guy. Would you agree?
Absolutely. He's just done so much. Just for basketball in general, like not just for the NBA, but like internationally. Like Argentina, if you don't remember specifically, was ranked number 1 above USA for a couple years. And I think a lot of it had to do because of him and the success that he brought to Argentina.
Yeah, like I was going to say, he's just one of those guys, like I said, who did it in, it wasn't just the NBA, and that's kind of rare, I would say.
Right.
Especially as long as he did it. So, yeah, I believe he's first ballot, no doubt.
Yeah, the guy has, absolutely no shot of missing the Hall of Fame ballot.
And like, not to mention too, like the role he had with the Spurs, like in the last, the last couple of years of his career, he was, not always starting, 6th man, and the numbers he still put up were relatively really good. Like again, with the minutes he was getting and the role he had, so.
Right.
Manu Ginobili, one of the, I was gonna say one of the better players of our generation. I mean, he is a better player. I wouldn't put him up there as like the best or whatever, but yeah, definitely.
If it wasn't for their coach, I would say that this season they have like a legitimate chance of not making the playoffs.
I would agree, but like,
and even with the coach, I still think it's a slight possibility, but.
You can't count. Yeah, I was gonna say you can't count out Pop.
Right.
But yeah. Next thing we're gonna talk about, finally, some NHL talk. I mean, it's not that significant, but at least it's some NHL. Martin Brodeur stepped down from the St. Louis Blues, where he was assistant GM for 3 of the 4 years he was there. He stepped down. Saying that he was going to pursue new opportunities, and then the next day took a job with the New Jersey Devils as an executive vice president of business development, whatever that means. So yeah, back with a team that we all know where he's from. Like I will never remember like the couple games he played for St. Louis. Like that's out of my mind. Like I don't even want to think about that. Like to me, he's a Devil for life. I mean, he played 21 years there, and then like had one season where it wasn't even one season. It was like a couple games where he played for the Blues and then took a role with the Blues.
If I remember, wasn't he like a filling goalie coach for a little
He
bit?
was,
and then if I remember from reading, he was assistant to the general manager.
Yeah.
For the Blues, which that's just so weird. And then he ended up becoming assistant general manager. So, and then so he's been there 3-4 seasons out of this, I think.
Yeah, 4 seasons. And it's funny because when I was tripping over my words there, like saying what he was, what he's going to be doing with the Devils, I'm just thinking in my head, like, I swear to God, they make up some of these things. Like, is this a real job or like is that just something they made up? So yeah, Brodeur, like I said, finally got some hockey news. It's not that significant, but hopefully we'll have some more soon.
It's good to hear his name.
You said he just kind of like dipped out from St. Louis.
Well,
he said he was quitting hockey. I guess that's kind of what he made it sound like.
He said pursuing new opportunities, which a lot of people speculated that he would take the job, like a job with the Devils. But
gotcha.
But yeah, like it's just funny the way he said it. Like, yeah, I want to pursue new opportunities, and literally, it was like. I feel like it was less than 24 hours. He was like he had something with the Devils. So
I mean, shit. If you're gonna move out of St. Louis, you might as well move somewhere better than fucking New Jersey.
And man, I swear to listeners that there was an article before he took the job that said that he wasn't interested in going back into management like hockey or whatever, because that was he knew obviously that the speculation was he was going to go back to the Devils for some front office role. But I could have swore that I read before the Devils thing, before he actually accepted the job, that he was just interested in going home and being with his kids or whatever. But I could not find the damn article anywhere. Whatever.
They probably posted it and took it down because they're like, "Oh shit, we were wrong."
I know. That's what I was thinking.
But here's the thing: I would have thought that it would have been covered by enough outlets that I could have found at least one. But I could not find it. It was all, "Oh, he accepted the job." Yeah, I know he accepted the job, but where is it where he said he didn't want the job? Can we? I swear I'm not crazy. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. But yeah, like I said,
you know how the media is, man. They're out there like, "Oh, guys, we got to take it down. We can't let the public know we lie sometimes."
God forbid, MSM. God forbid.
But like I said, Brodeur will always be a Devil to me, and especially growing up in the. Not that I was a Devils fan, but being from Jersey, I always remember him as a Devil. Yeah. All right, next topic we have.
Every time someone says Devil, I just think of that fucking song from NHL.
Are you ready for the Devil, man?
Our theme song.
I swear to God, it's the only one that plays. You log on, you're like, "Are you ready for the Devil?" I'm like, "Oh
God." All right, another retirement from a sport, and big one for the U.S. Well, in some people's opinions, at least. Clint Dempsey retired from international and club football or soccer. Sorry, I say football and then catch myself.
Soccer for the American listeners.
I know because I will say a quick story real quick. I have a friend that I said football in front of, and he literally gave me the death stare. I'm like, "It's soccer." I'm like, "I'm sorry." All right.
I'm sorry.
But anyway, Dempsey played 15 years, 7 of them being in the Premier League in England, which obviously a pretty big league. He played for Tottenham and Fulham there. And yeah, obviously a lot of the, casual soccer fans will remember him for what he's done with the U.S. national team. I would say one of their better players for a while. Now, they have the likes of Christian Pulisic, who hopefully will take over.
Golden boy.
The golden boy. Yeah, I'm so hyped at him, but that's for another time. But yeah, hopefully he'll take over the production of Dempsey. But Dempsey scored 57 goals with the U.S. men's national team, which is actually tied with Landon Donovan for the most goals all time. So, Brendy, I will refer back to you as the other guy who is a big soccer fan here. I know when at least when we were talking before, you had a different opinion than me on what Dempsey has done for the U.S. So I'd love to hear your opinion.
So here's my opinion. In terms of, I'm just going to be strictly talking about for the national team. I'm not doubting Clint Dempsey's legacy. I think he's one of the better players that the U.S. has had ever, honestly. But there was a certain aspect to him that was lacking when Landon Donovan was here, and when in 2014 when he basically had the team by himself. Mm-hmm. He never really had that kind of leadership mentality that was needed. He was never really able to say, okay, if I'm on the team, we're guaranteed to, or not guaranteed, but like, just give me the ball, I'll do whatever I can with it, and I'll make sure that I can guide the team to victory. He never really had that kind of mentality. He was never much of a vocal player on the field. That was quite honestly, that was mainly Tim Howard and Brad Guzan. As probably the most vocal people on the team.
Yeah.
But sure. Clint Dempsey, he never had the it factor to me. With that said, I'm not doubting like his greatness. His what he's done for the USMNT. Great overall player, I feel like. But without that leadership mentality, I'm not entirely sure his legacy is going to be like as great as people are making it out to be.
Just to play devil's advocate, I will say one thing, like, he wasn't playing with the greatest supporting cast of all time.
Right.
So, like, it is with, like, he's made 141 appearances for the national team, which is just insane. Like, I know there's other people from other countries that make so much more, but that just seems like so much to me. I don't know. That took me by surprise. But anyway, Clint Dempsey retiring from international and club football. And yeah, that is that for that. And then next thing we have it's kind of an interesting one because it's kind of been like almost a joke for a long time. It's the UCF men's football team. As we know, or as most people know, last year they had a perfect season. And,
right. Only undefeated team.
13-0 record, and they wanted to be crowned national champions. I shouldn't say national. They wanted to be recognized, essentially. So they finally have been by the NCAA. It's been updated in the 2018 record book as that they are a champion.
An official NCAA record.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So, they threw parades and stuff. I'm pretty sure like they had like rings given out to the players and coaches. They've had banners there, and it was almost like I said, it was kind of a joke because like they were doing this, and obviously they weren't getting recognized. But finally, it has come to that, which is, like I said, it's kind of a funny story.
It was kind of just a meme for a while. Like people didn't really take them seriously. It's like, okay, yeah, your national championships, okay, but yeah, really, Alabama is.
Yeah, and I mean like I said, they posted a 13-0 record, and then they beat Auburn in the Peach Bowl to cap off the season. So
that's what I'm saying, man. People said they had an easy record, but they did beat Auburn at the end of the season, so they proved they were worth something.
They can hang with the tough guys.
Yeah, and I just like it's just funny to me, like how they were having like this parade and all, and like obviously, like I'm not sure what the NCAA had to say about that at the time, but
I think they mainly kept it quiet. There was really only one national media outlet that recognized them as national championships. You may or may not have heard of it, but it was called the Colley Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
They were the only ones that recognized UCF as national championships. But everyone else is like, okay, no, it's really Alabama.
It's got to have something to do with like media coverage and money and that stuff, because no one wants to see Central Florida in the finals.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, again, they posted a 13-0 record, which isn't, it doesn't matter what the conference you're in. Rather, like it's impressive in any way. And
honestly, I wouldn't mind if UCF was in the college football playoff. Like that I would love to see that.
That would be cool. Yeah, I mean, last year they had they lost obviously to the draft. Why I can't think of his first name. Shaquille Barrett, or is that his brother? Jesus. Yeah, Shaquille Barrett. Right?
I'm sorry. Who are you like? Which team?
The UCF, Shaquille Barrett, the middle linebacker. Or I'm trying to think if that's his brother's first name. Anyway, they obviously lost a couple pieces this year, but
fuck my pizza.
So yeah, as we're recording this, they actually played their first game yesterday and got the win over UConn to kick off the season. So yeah, looking good for UCF, and like we said,
I'm looking at the players that were that UCF lost to the draft. The first one being Mike Hughes, cornerback, Traquan Smith, Jordan Akins, and then Shaquem Griffin, like you said.
I'm sorry, Shaquille Barrett is a is a player for the Broncos. That's my fault. Yeah, Shaquem Griffin. That is my stupidity. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. But anyway, yep. So UCF officially national champion, which
good for them.
Yeah, but yeah. And then we will move on to some NFL talk here. A couple big contracts got signed for some superstar players. The first one being Odell Beckham Jr. He signed a new contract with the Broncos. Jesus Christ, with the Giants. I don't know what this thing is with the Broncos. I wish the Broncos signed him. With the Giants for 5 years and $95 million, 65 of that being guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you can't deny it. This guy's a superstar. Like honestly, like I know a lot of people talk trash about him because he's one of the more outspoken players and he has a lot of antics on the field. But this guy is, consistently, except for last year, obviously because he was injured, but he's consistently in the top, 5-10 receivers since he's been in the league. And there's been a lot of talk with the Giants and Odell with the contract situation. They finally get it done.
Dude, holdouts in the NFL this season have been really high.
I feel, well, you know what? Like I was talking about earlier, or in the last podcast rather, about Le'Veon Bell and his contract situation. You got Khalil Mack in Oakland, all these superstar players, like
Aaron
they
Donald.
want their money. Aaron Donald, yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of guys, like a lot of holdouts.
Has Aaron Donald signed yet?
He just signed now, actually. Yep.
Okay.
I don't have the details, but he just signed today for a ridiculous contract.
Gotcha.
If somebody can actually get those details real quick while
I gotcha.
Keep talking about Odell, but yeah, Odell has 4,424 career receiving yards and 38 touchdowns in just 47 career games. Yeah, I think he's worth that money.
All right, here it is.
Go ahead,
So the Rams and Aaron Donald have finalized a record 6-year, $135 million, including $87 million guaranteed, richest defensive deal in NFL history.
Damn, that's a big contract.
He's now tied to the Rams for the next 7 years.
I mean, deservedly so, because he's probably one of the best D tackles in the league, but that's a lot of money. I mean, obviously teams can dish it out, but yeah, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, back to Odell. Now, there's one thing I wanted to actually get your opinion on, because Bobby, I know you have a strong, or at least a little bit of opinion on Odell. So I guess my question to you guys is, do you think he's worth the $95 million? And the way I'm kind of going with this is, on the field, obviously, but off the field as well. Do you think he's worth the money?
Personally, this is going to sound very bad coming from a Falcons fan thinking that Julio Jones is one of the best. I think he absolutely deserves that money because he's earned it. He's definitely like one of the top tier wide receivers in the NFL, and I kind of wish that it had went a different way other than a holdout. But he absolutely deserved every penny that's in that contract. And I hate to say that as like a big, believer that Julio Jones is like, top 3, top 2, wide receiver. So,
Yeah.
so that's my take on that.
I don't know. I mean, at least for me, I think you can't deny the production. The guy puts up numbers, and obviously last year he was hurt. He only played 4 games, but yeah, the guy's a beast. Now, Bobby, I want your opinion because I don't know if it's changed, but at least when we were talking before, you had a differing view on this.
So it's not that my thought process was simply this: is that so I've said for a while that I thought OBJ was kind of overrated, but in more discussion that I had with Tyler here before the show, I know statistically I'm wrong. I'm absolutely wrong. The guy puts up tremendous seasons in and out. But the problem I've had is that you really don't hear a lot. Like he made a name for himself from the one big catch. Everybody knows that catch, and it was one of the most magnificent catches in the history of football. But I guess it's not really his fault, right? I mean, the Giants have been in a bad way for a while. Eli's kind of running his course a little bit, and Odell's kind of the guy keeping the team afloat. So I guess my only thought process would be is that maybe they needed to think about other ways to improve the team besides Odell. And I get he needed to be a staple. They need him for whoever is going to be up after Eli is gone and after they really truly rebuilding the team from the ground up. I understand he's a big part of it and he's going to be a productive part of it. So I guess it's like, all right, cool. He got paid off the field. I hear he's good off the field. He's had some controversies on the field with some fight things, but nothing that any other player would be free from. So I'm not worried about that. Is he worth the money? Okay, sure. I'll go out and say absolutely he's worth the money. But I guess I don't know how well that's going to be. Like, I don't think you're going to see any worth out of it until the rest of the team kind of follows with him. Right? So, okay, you have him. He's good. But until the rest of the team kind of starts going through the rebuild process, I don't think you could really see him to his full potential. And let's just say that the rebuild happens, right? They got a brand new, some rookie quarterback, right, who's incredible, right? Some star, and then you start building your offensive line, and now you have a solid offense, right? Will Odell be good in those circumstances now? And let's say they sign more receivers or whatever, like, will he still be worth that contract in a few years after a rebuild?
We'll just have to wait and see.
I will say, like, and I said this before to you, Bobby, like, the quarterback makes the receiver. Like, you got to have a guy throwing you the ball to make the catches. So, I mean, that being said, Odell has put up ridiculous numbers Eli, I don't think he's the worst, like, ever, like, but obviously he's not where he was. So, you're looking at his probably last few years, but, I think he's fully worth the money. Now I'm gonna kind of come at you real quick at a different angle. So obviously the production, I think, like, that alone is worth the $95 million. But this guy consistently is one of the top, like, players in sales.
Yes.
Jersey sales, merchandise sales, stuff like that. He makes a lot of money, and he's a guy for the Giants that puts butts in seats when they don't really have much. So, like, you keep Odell, you keep, fans come to the game. I actually brought up an article. It's it's basically the NFLPA's top 50 player shows, and this was from March 1st to May 31st this year, which I believe is the most recent one. And he was ranked 9th in the player sales. And, that's, keep in mind, coming off of a season where you had him obviously being injured for the 4 games. So he missed the whole season. And then also kind of something you got to consider is Philadelphia's first Super Bowl had fans buying shit like crazy. Like, I think the list, like, Nick Foles was number 1, of course. Carson Wentz was up there, I think.
I would hope he would be.
Who was it? Fletcher Cox, I think, was up there. Like, so, yeah, you had a couple of Eagles guys. So, like, it's like I said, he's a big moneymaker, and I think you had to sign him if you're the Giants. Like financially, I think it's essential.
Yeah, I don't. I never said that the Giants shouldn't sign him. Right? I guess maybe I've been wrong about OBJ. I'm just curious. It's always a weird thing to me. I don't know why. I have no hate towards OBJ, and before anyone says, because I've said that I'm a Pats fan, no, I'm not bitter about a Super Bowl or anything. I don't really, I don't like the team, but OBJ as a player, I know he's good. I just didn't think he was this number one receiver. Like every time you go into the fantasy rankings, he's always up there, right? I don't know. I can be completely wrong. I've said that, looking at the statistics of it all, I'm absolutely wrong. you put him up against, I even looked at comparisons, like, okay, let's look at Antonio Brown, who is a top receiver in the league right now, and the numbers are not far off from each other. So it's not like he's not competitive. He's this bottom line receiver. He's up there. He's up there with the big guys. I guess I just always thought, okay, Eli, he's kind of the big target on the Giants, right? I mean, that's who Eli's looking for first and foremost every time the ball gets snapped. So I guess my question is, will this contract still be worth it when, I guess, the whole rebuild happens? But I get that's kind of a weak argument too, right? Because he's going to be there with that team, and whoever's going to be, grabbing the ball is going to keep throwing to him. I've had weird opinions on him that I really can't justify. That's all. But I know he's a good person up the field. I know he's been great on the field. He's been solid for the Giants all these years. So I think the contract was definitely worth it for both those on and off field things. So I'm not bitter about it. I just know I had a differing opinion on OBJ compared to everybody else. That's all.
Speaking of off field things for OBJ, we're going to be plugging HBO again because recently there's a new show out called The Shop. It's the premise of it is essentially I haven't watched it, I will say that, but the previews I've seen, the clips I've seen from it, I believe it's LeBron's show. And he basically brings on like celebrity athletes to talk about stuff, and it's like set up like a barbershop would be, and they kind of just sit down and talk. So there was a clip that went around from OBJ from this last one, and I'll let Bobby play it, but just to give you like a background, he's basically talking about like, what it's like to be a superstar in the NFL and what he's had to deal with. So like I said, I'll let Bobby roll that clip and give it a listen.
I didn't want to take a picture. I'm really in a rush. I got to go. I get on Twitter. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm a Giant season ticket holder for 30 years. Like, first of all, you 20-something. And then it's like, oh, he's an asshole. He didn't want to take a picture. It's like, to me, I be feeling like, I tell people this all the time, I really feel like a zoo animal. Like, that's where life's gone for me. We used to take your kids to the zoo, and we used to be like, I want to see the lions, or let's go see the lions. And you go out there, and the lions are laid out. You know what I mean? It's like, why aren't they doing lion stuff? You know what I mean? Like, I got people who call, oh, damn, dance. Like I'm a show monkey or something. Like I'm a puppet. You know what I mean? And it's like, to me, that doesn't feel good. But it's like, damn, that's what life became. But can you ever really detach from that?
I just want to point out that my favorite thing about the actual video is to see the random cuts of Jon Stewart just sitting in on this.
I know, yeah.
Like, that's my favorite thing about this whole clip here.
No, it's interesting the points he brings up though, because one of the things that Dell is known for, like we said before, like he's a big personality in the NFL, and he's known for his touchdown celebrations and his dancing and stuff like that. And it's kind of an interesting point to bring up for him. Like, he's out. It's probably hard for him to live a regular life. Like, obviously, he's going to get recognized everywhere he goes. And one thing I didn't say before about OBJ, but it kind of goes with the whole player sales thing. Is like, in my opinion, and I'm strictly talking about, like, I'm not talking about performance on the field. I'm talking about like personality and stuff like that. Like, Odell's the face of the league in terms of that. Like, everybody wants to be like Odell. Like, you have kids like wanting his hair. You have kids like, doing the dances he's doing. Like, people, like kids, especially, like, attract to personalities like that because they're, they actually talk to the media, and they're and they're out there like that. So it's interesting for him to come out and say that. And I just have to say, like, this show, like I said, I haven't watched it, but I'm gonna give it a watch. Like, I feel like there could be a lot of juicy stories coming out of this, because it's just one of those things where they're sitting down and talking, and I feel like something could come out. But yeah, it's just an interesting thing on Odell. Yeah, like I said, just how, again, I'm sure, like, living his life, like, he's got all this money and stuff like that, but I'm sure this guy, like, can't go out in public and not get recognized. So
Yeah, I'm sure it's like that for a lot of the athletes, but
for sure, yeah.
I mean, we were just talking about last week the whole Ninja story about how we really can't relate to what it's like for someone like him, and even Odell, as he's saying here, they're in the spotlight 24/7, even while they're sleeping. People know, people want to know what they're doing every minute of every day and what they're saying, what they're doing, what they're for, what they're against. So I'm sure, especially in a national, in a more national spotlight, sports are forever going to be one of the dominant, like, cultural things. I mean, America is a big, has so many sports around here, and football is like the big one, right? I mean, Sundays are basically days for football. Like, an entire day of the week is for football. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
and I'm sure someone like him has to deal with this constantly. And you always hear the stories like, oh, I ran into this guy, I ran to, OBJ, and he was super nice. And, let me take a picture and stuff like that. But, sometimes, he's got places to be too, I mean, he ain't getting paid that much money to take pictures, you know what I mean? He's out there to play football. So if he's got to be somewhere, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't take a picture right now. You can't really yell at the guy for something like that,
yeah,
man.
I understand. You have to understand that as, like, just a regular person meeting someone who's
Right.
that famous. I met Kevin James one time. I didn't ask for a picture. Man. I didn't ask for an autograph. I just shook his hand, stood there and talked with him for a minute, and then I was on my way.
That's awesome. Yeah, Kevin.
That's exactly how you should meet them, dude. You're like, okay, obviously they know that people are going to recognize them, but you got to be respectful, man. They got personal space. They don't want to be invaded.
They're a person too. Like, that's what you got to remember. And I just have to say, Kevin James, like, fucking King of Queens. I love that show. One of my favorite shows.
It was when I was working my job in downtown Atlanta, and I was going out to get lunch one day, and there he was, just chilling, like, on a bench.
just being
like
Kevin.
I was James. Like, that's Kevin James.
But yeah, like, and OBJ even said in there, like, about the picture, like, the guy wanting a picture, and, like, he doesn't have time, and that was actually one of the funnier parts about it, because obviously he goes, I've been a season ticket holder for 30 years, and this dude looks like he's 20. But yeah, no, I mean, I get it with that, and especially somebody like him, who's just a superstar, not only on the field but off the field. Next topic, going along with the NFL and a big contract. Aaron Rodgers gets a 4-year deal, $134 million contract extension.
Are we really surprised though?
No, and you know what? Talk about a guy who is worth every penny. This is the guy. Like, this guy is. He is the Packers.
Yep.
Oh, yes, absolutely is.
In my opinion, he's going to go down as one of the greatest of all time. Like, and this is going to be weird to say, but, like, I don't think he's underrated, obviously, because he's one of the best in the game. But you always hear, like, about Brady and stuff like that, and, like, yeah, like, Rodgers, like, the money, like, the numbers he puts up, like, I actually have the stat that I, doing research, I found most interesting is Aaron Rodgers actually has with a minimum of I think it's 2,500 attempts, he has the best passer rating of all time, like, in quarterbacks. It's 103.8.
And the lowest career interception percentage.
Yep, at 1.6%. It's crazy.
1.6? That is absurd. What in the hell?
Dude, like, this guy, like, he's one of my favorite players to watch because he is electric. And, like, you have to think about it too. Like, the receivers he has, like, okay, Devontae Adams, I really like. I think he's a good receiver. And Jordy Nelson, like, okay, he was good
Better
too.
Be. I just drafted him.
But in my opinion, like, Aaron Rodgers made Jordy Nelson, like, and even Randall Cobb, like, dude, these guys, like, again, the quarterback makes the wide receivers, and the passes that Aaron Rodgers makes, the pinpoint accuracy, the balls
even
that he
from
throws,
even from deep, like,
dude, he's Mr. Hail Mary, man. Like, this guy's insane. But it's crazy. And like I said, for a guy who's worth every penny, Aaron Rodgers obviously hurt last year, so he missed a big chunk of the season. But his last full season, get these stats: 4,428 yards, 40 TDs, and only 7 picks.
That is crazy.
It's insane. This guy, like I said, he's one of the best in the business.
I think he's obviously most famous for, the infamous discount double check.
Discount, yeah, I love it. No, but yeah, like I said, the numbers this guy puts up consistently. Last year honestly kind of sucked for football because you had a lot of superstars get hurt. You had OBJ, you had Aaron Rodgers for like a big chunk of the season. You had Carson Wentz go down. I know that was late, but still, like he was an MVP candidate for like he probably would have won MVP if if he didn't get hurt. Like I said, Aaron Rodgers, one of the best players to watch, for me at least. So good to see him get the money, and like I said, worth every penny of it.
Just real quick, he's with Green Bay until the 2023 season.
And I hope he plays every year, because I know he's getting up there in age, but hopefully he has a lot of years left.
Yep.
And now we're going to move on to somebody who I just mentioned, another great quarterback in the NFL.
The GOAT.
The GOAT. I will, again, like I said last week, he is the GOAT. Tom Brady, but this is not anything to do on the field. This is stuff to do off the field. As you may have seen recently, Tom is not happy with the media. He's not liking it. So, Bobby, I'll give the reins to you, being the Patriots fan, and I know you have some good information on this, so go ahead.
All right, so here's the deal. So the story that came out on August 27th is that Tom Brady hung up during a radio interview with Boston radio station WEI, who he apparently calls in for a lot. So during the interview, he was asked by the host of the show, who I can't find at the moment, about Alex Guerrero, and I'll read the transcripts pretty quick of the conversation. So he was asked about Alex Guerrero, who, if you don't know at this point, is Brady's trainer and a big proponent behind the TB12 method, which became a book, and other players on the Patriots besides Brady have sworn by. So I'll just read the transcript of the interview real quick. So the host is actually, his name is Kirk Minihane. I think I'm saying that right. So basically, Minihane says, what changed in him not being on the team plane last year and this year? If you remember, Alex Guerrero was kicked off the Patriots plane in the last few weeks of the season. And that caused the spiral of BS stories about these weird rifts between Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft, and Tom Brady. Moving on. So he kept saying, "Is like, was that just the communication back and forth, or was that an understanding of other things led to that being able to happen this year?" And Brady said, "Yeah, I am not getting into all of that." Minihane kind of continued to talk about how he ran into him at the Super Bowl. I remember talking to him, blah blah blah, and asked him about Guerrero's relationship with Bill Belichick. And Brady said, "Again, I said I don't want to get into it. Everyone knows it is well documented the work he and I do together." Minihane continued asking, saying, I was trying to figure out, because I saw reports this weekend that he's traveling with the team, which that report came out a few days ago, and asked if he was on the sideline Friday, to which Brady said, "Yeah, all right, guys, have a great day. I'll talk to you later," and hung up on you. This is not the first time this offseason that he's left an interview for questions related to this. He was, I forget how long it was supposed to go. I thought this was in July, but I could be completely wrong. He was at camp. It was at Pat's camp, and was doing a media session, press conference, whatever. And someone brought up Guerrero and Edelman. Edelman, being suspended for substance issues. A reporter then asked, "Do you find any correlation between Edelman's suspension and Guerrero's methods?" or something along those lines, which Brady just smirked and shook his head and walked out of that press conference. So looking at that, I can see why he's upset. I'm sure he's getting real tired of this story, because it's been happening since last year. But the spotlight's on him for so many different reasons right now. I'm sure he just doesn't want to deal with the BS anymore. Obviously, no one knows all the ins and outs besides him, Guerrero, and Belichick and Robert Kraft, right? Like no one knows the complete inner workings, and no one ever will.
Why do reporters keep asking dumb questions like that?
It's
what do you want? What do you want? Oh yeah, I know everything, fam. Like that's what you want to hear.
That's the thing. Like I said this to Tyler. Like the reporter at the end of the day gets paid to say those things.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, it would almost be like he or she is not doing their job if they're not asking that question, as stupid as it may sound. I thought the Edelman question was pretty stupid, to be honest with you. But I can't. The Guerrero thing is a big thing right now. So as far as the radio interview goes, I don't know if that was pushing it too far. I mean, maybe when Brady said, "I'm not doing this," maybe stop. But
I wish we didn't have to have all this like professionalism, man. Like, why can't they just say exactly what they're thinking instead of having to like sugarcoat it?
Because the problem is, like, if they try and say something, then it's going to get spun into something else. So that's why he keeps his mouth shut, and Brady keeps trying to keep his mouth shut, because he knows that whatever he says, even if it's this innocent thing, there's going to be some outlet that takes it and spins it in a complete different direction. And it's probably annoying. We're talking about being like a zoo animal, like what OBJ was saying earlier. He's dealing with the same kind of thing. He's being watched at all times.
Right, but a press conference is part. I would argue that it's a part of your job if you're in the NFL to do the press conferences, especially if you're somebody like Tom Brady. You're getting paid a lot of money.
Oh yeah, and
what OBJ was saying was that he doesn't like being bothered off the field, or like when he's just trying to live his life, which is fine.
Yeah, I'll agree that the press conferences are kind of part of the job, right? I mean, what's his name had to. I'm just here so I don't get fined. That was
Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, Marshawn Lynch. Yeah, it is part of the job. I wholeheartedly agree with that, but
we need more Marshawn Lynches, because like there has to be a good percentage of them that are there so they don't get fined.
That's not I would argue maybe like 3/4 of the NFL don't want to be there. Are you kidding me?
I feel like every sport is like that.
They hate the dumb questions, man. I understand why.
I cannot wait to wake up and just fucking talk to the media, guys.
Yep. Oh, I can't wait. 8 a.m. tomorroh morning. Oh God, I love it. I love my job. This is what I went to college and trained my entire life for. Yeah. I get it. It's a big story. The Guerrero thing has caused some controversy and a lot of questions about the Patriots' inner core. I won't get into all of it. If it needs to be talked about again, we will talk about it. But I can see why he's upset. Like he's back. He wants to have a really good season, and I'm sure all he's focused on right now is football. I mean, let's be honest. The Patriots are in a really weird spot right now on the field without Edelman for a few weeks. Eric Decker retiring on us from out of freaking nowhere. So it's going to be interesting on the field. I'm sure that's all Brady wants to focus on. So I really can't blame him for lashing like this on those two interviews.
Real quick, I'll put my 2 cents in. As somebody who, I was going to college for sports media, and I've only been in college for like a year and a half at this point, but. Like the questions they ask, I'm like, unfortunately, as dumb as they are, like it is their job. And I know like it's across all sports. Like they're, the questions they ask are dumb, but again, it's part of their job. It's what people want to hear. Now in the case of I'm on both sides of like with the phone interview, like the guy kept pushing it, and like again, he wants an answer because like that's what's gonna get the clicks and stuff. But in Brady's case, like. I told you 2 times already, like, I'm not going to answer this question. Like, I would leave if I was him too. And obviously with Brady, like, again, regarded as like the greatest player of all time or one of the greatest players of all time, like, he's already got scrutiny on him. And then you got, the Deflate Gate a few years ago and all this other stuff, the suspensions, like, he's got all this stuff, like, his eyes on him, like Bobby said all the time, like he's got eyes on him all the time, and he's already under the microscope. So yeah, this just furthers the point. I know he's frustrated; it's obvious.
And
it's the last thing he wants to get talked about.
And I just in times of the Guerrero story, it's extremely weird to talk about. Worth noting that Guerrero is technically a sort of family member for Brady, so. Mm-hmm. Their relationship is that close, you know what I mean? So I'm sure he doesn't want to be pestered about it and put who he considers probably family in a bad position. You know what I mean?
I wonder if Brady kisses Guerrero on the mouth. All right, moving
God.
on. Next topic.
Go away. Oh my God. Why did you? No.
I'm sorry. That was mean.
Jesus.
Next.
Next, we're gonna talk last thing about the NFL here. Jerry Jones came out and basically gave his opinion on the preseason, which I gotta say, Jerry Jones has said a lot of things in the past that I don't agree with, but this is one of the things I agree with.
Really?
So essentially, he said that the NFL, what they should do is, with all the injuries we've seen in the preseason, guys going out for the whole year because of an injury in preseason, he basically said, why don't we cut the preseason down in half, make it 2 games, and then add 2 games to the regular season, so have an 18-game regular season. I don't know how logistical it is in terms of how that would work with the schedule and stuff like that. But I am one of those people, and I think we all are and all are all in favor of cutting down the preseason, because the amount of guys we've lost in the past 2-3 seasons due to season-ending injuries in the preseason is horrible. You got guys that can make a difference in the league, going out because of an injury in preseason. Now we have this whole thing with the helmet hits, so guys are going low. You've seen it with Marquise Lee recently. Basically I got his knee blown out because the guy doesn't want to hit him in the helmet, so he goes low on him, and then there goes his knee. So
I am so pissed about Marquise Lee. You have no idea. I drafted him, and literally the day after he gets hurt. I'm sorry. No,
Wow. Okay.
Like I said, Jerry Jones is a figure who says a lot of things. But like I said, this is something I agree on. I kind of get your guys' opinion on it. I'm sure it's almost the same thing as that I'm saying. But yeah, Bobby, if you want to give your opinion, and then Brendy.
So the preseason just feels looking at the non-injury aspect, the preseason just feels like it takes forever. It's the longest tease in the history of teasing.
Yeah, it is.
It's what, 4? How many games?
Well, it's 4 weeks.
4 games.
4 weeks.
They tease you because
4 weeks.
The first week they have the Hall of Fame game, so that's an extra game. So it's literally I guess early August, and then they tease you for a month before the regular season.
I don't know, man. The 4 weeks just seems. It's 4 weeks, and it's all these meaningful scores, and what we just talked about, the Browns, how they won 5-0 against the Eagles the other day. It's I just can't wait for there to be a competitive game again. I mean, I know we're talking about the Browns, but yeah, I'm for splitting it in half. Honestly, I'm definitely for it. Just to listen. There's a reason why football is not played in the same regard as baseball or hockey or basketball is, right? It is a rough game, right? It's 4 weeks of preseason for games that don't even really matter, and going into all those collisions and potential injury situations. I wouldn't want that. Give them 2 weeks or something to maybe get their head on straight and get back into the swing of things, and then let's go right into the season. Stop teasing me with this BS. So
let me just say before, Brendy, I get your take. There's a couple of things about preseason too, that kind of go with this. First of all, the starters don't even play that much. So the first game they play 1 drive, maybe 2. Okay, so that's a waste of time. Then you got the second week, they might play 1 quarter. Okay, big deal. Third week they might play 2 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth game, nobody plays. Literally, the Broncos game yesterday, they're playing the Arizona Cardinals. They had 30 of their starters not playing. What's the point?
Literally, the fourth game is just for people that are just trying to hang on to a job.
I was gonna say yes, roster cuts. I know this is why they have preseason, and I understand too. I like the preseason for the simple fact that it gets players in tuning in. I agree with that. I think it's necessary. Do I think 4 games is necessary when the starters play a combined basically 1 game over 4 games? I don't. I think it needs to get cut. That's my opinion.
It's also
I just want to get that in there.
It's also And I get another big part of the preseason is for the teams who may not necessarily have starters yet, right? So you have different guys trying out, or well, not trying out, like trying to fight for that spot. Like the quarterbacks. I mean, look at the Jets were kind of rotating a little bit there before they got rid of Bridgewater. You know what I mean? Like they were kind of treading the water for who they thought their starter was going to be. So, and I get that, but I don't think you need 4 weeks to do that. I mean, you can rotate QBs like in between quarters and everything else. I mean, the same goes for the rest of the roles, right? I mean, you can throw in a different defensive tackle, every few possessions or every quarter or whatever, if you really need to figure out who you really want starting. But for the most part, most teams, I would say, have most of their starters in. Like they have most of their starters locked in. So really, the only fighting spots I would say, I mean, I could be completely wrong, are kind of the bigger positions like QB, receivers, whatever. But I don't think you need 4 weeks for that. I think you need 2 games, and then you're practicing every other day. Like,
I was just about to say that. Like, not for nothing. Like, I know the practice is not like the games, but it's not like they're playing once a week and that's it. Like, they're practicing. Right. You can see what they're made of in practice.
They are on the field, and hell, man, people get hurt in practice. So why add 2? Yeah. Why add 4? Rough and tough situations like real games if you're going to get all your guys hurt. I don't know. I'm with the cutting it in half kind of deal at the least.
I'd even go so far as to say just delete the preseason altogether, because it's not like anyone's at a disadvantage in the first game. They all have their own practices.
Yeah, I just think it gets people in the swing of things, and it even kind of warms up the audience too.
Again, like the biggest thing they do it for is so the players get a tune-up essentially, and for roster cuts, because they gotta cut their roster. 20. I think each team carries 90 now, and then you have to cut it to 53. So yeah, but like I said, I'm not debating that. Like I know that's what has to happen. It's just that 4 games, and with all the injuries, like I said, I think that can be reduced. Real quick before we move on, Brendy, do you have anything to add?
Not really, but one thing I will add is the fact that if the NFL were to increase their season by 18 games and like shorten the preseason, I think what might help is if they added an additional bye week. What do you guys think?
Yeah, well, I think you'd have to, like, literally, because like it's players would like get injured more than they would in preseason. Like, again, when we're talking about this, I don't know how logistical it is, like, again, scheduling wise, but like you'd have to have like buys from like week 4 to week 7 or 8, and then buys from like week 11 or 12 to like week 15. So
right. So it's like kind of one in the middle, or like one in the beginning, and then like one in the end.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I think that could work. Again, it's just I don't know how. I don't. People have that job and I don't, so they can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we do not get paid to do that. We don't even get paid to do this, but we just like it.
All right, we're gonna move on now to something that's gonna bring up some arguments. I'm already telling you right now. We're gonna switch from sports to video games. Recently, this is big news for me and Bobby. Maybe not so much for Brendy and Zach. But Modern Warfare 2, what I regard as the greatest game of all time, what they do not at all, is now backwards compatible. It's now available on Xbox One, along with, now I know this has been on there for a while, but I just found out MW3 is backwards compatible. So
MW3 has been backwards compatible for like a couple of years, I think, hasn't it?
Has it?
I don't even, like I said, you told me the other day it was backwards compatible, and that was the first time I ever knew about it. And I actually.
Oh wait, no, sorry, I'm wrong. It hasn't been a couple of years. It became backwards compatible like June 19th or June 20th or something like that. Okay.
I mean, still, it's been 2 months. I don't even know about it. And that's like, I also love that game too. So like, it's funny you bring that up, but
I like that game.
Yeah, it was a good game. I liked it too. However, I thought Modern Warfare 2 was better, and so we argued, of course, before the podcast, like days in advance when we brought this up as a possible topic. Basically, to tell you what transpired. I said, "Look at this. This is the greatest game of all time," and then I got
That's
roasted.
the dumbest statement ever.
by
Not
two,
the greatest game of all time.
by two things, and then Bobby just, he was on my side. So it was basically a 2v2 fight, arguing. I don't even know how to approach this. Like, I guess should one side take their point and then go to the other side? Like, how should we do this? Because it's going to be argument.
Give us your argument, and we'll come back with a rebuttal.
So, I will.
The court
say,
recognizes Tyler Johnson. Please stand and give your argument, please.
The judge is biased.
I have to agree with one thing you said the other day, which was about the nostalgia part. I think that is big for me. However, and again, my vision may be skewed because the last few years the Call of Duty games have blown, but the game was just it went, like, the movements were good, the guns were good, the intervention is the best sniper in Call of Duty history. That's another hot take that they won't.
Completely wrong, but all right.
It definitely, like, can we agree on one thing? It made the best sound.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
we can at least agree on that. Don't
That's
start
not a
this
hot
shit
take.
again. Dude, it's literally a meme now. That's how good it is. But anyway, it's just, like, again, the movements were good. One thing that me and Bobby enjoy, that I know, most of the Call of Duty games are based off of multiplayer only, but the Spec Ops missions were good and fun. We're going back now and doing them.
We're literally, me and Tyler started last night. We're trying to get 3 stars on all of them again.
I think I have like 50. I need like 13 more stars over them. I think I have like 56.
Yeah, I forget how much you need. I have.
Dude, I'm just saying, like, it had it all. The campaign was good. Like, how can you not remember that last mission? Like,
spoilers, by the way.
It's been out for like
spoiler alert
7
on a
years.
9-year-old game.
I don't know, man. Listen, man. It's not in 9 years. I just unlocked the last set of Spec Ops missions, so you can kiss my ass, all right? But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby, you can give your side of it. I don't know. Like I said, it was awesome coming home from 6th grade every day. I think that's how old I was when the game came out.
Yeah.
6th or 7th grade, coming home, jumping on from the time I got home to the time I went to bed.
Yep.
I think I told them the other day. I don't know, because I haven't checked it since I got back on, but I think I have like 30 or 40 days on there, which is a lot. Now I know that's over
nothing.
I know it is over 9 years, but, like, I haven't played it for the past 2 or 3, 4 years, so there's that.
Well, no, I was saying it's nothing because me and Zach have like a combined like 80 or 90 hours on Black Ops 1.
Brendy, you still don't touch.
Dude, like 800 hours.
Brendy, it's funny though. You two still don't even touch our old friend from our old clan who had he said 90 or 100 days on the first Black Ops. Legendary.
Oh yeah, well, Legendary was an interesting situation though.
I know that. I 90 to 100 days on that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait, hold on real quick. What game did you say you had 800 hours on?
Black Ops 1.
Okay, that was a good game too. So, like, I can't.
Mine's probably closer to 1,000 hours.
But
on Black Ops 1.
I guess we'll let Bobby talk, give his opinions on the game, and then we'll let the firestorm that is Brendy and Zach talk.
So
I'm coming for you, Bobby.
All right. So I real quick, I want to give a quick note about Black Ops 1. That the campaign does not get enough love. Can I just say that real quick? That's probably my favorite campaign in the Call of Duty series.
I don't know.
Numbers, Mason.
I'm just saying, MW2 was up there for me, but yeah, Black Ops 1 was.
I think Black Ops 1 was the best because it had the tiniest little bit of effed up things happening in there. Like,
I think Reznov is the best Call of Duty character ever.
Well, you think who?
Reznov.
Oh, absolutely. No question. Dude, I kid you not. I loved this campaign so much that I think, like, I don't know, I did this a few months ago. A few months ago, I looked up to see if anybody just straight played through the campaign, no voiceover, no nothing, just so I could watch it. Like, that's how good that story was to me. I loved it. Anyway.
And real quick, I just want to add, like, and I could be completely wrong on this, and I'm going to try to find a way to explain this because I'm not sure, but the Black Ops 1 campaign was, like, one of the first campaigns that had, like, the interactive stuff kind of in the campaign. So what I mean is, like, I don't know how to explain it, but essentially, like you could do like other things in there, like by pressing a button, it made you do that. Like
Yeah, you could get up. You can get up from the electric chair, and you could go
like
over and
You can play
the,
Dead Ops Arcade.
Yeah, the Dead Ops Arcade.
I'm sure everyone is aware of the mission in Modern Warfare 2 where you go to the airport. Dude, that did not age well at all.
Oh no, not even close.
That might have been the most fucked up mission in Call of Duty history, but again,
dude, I was playing that when I was like, I must have been 13 or 14. I'm 21 now, but I was like, is this a real mission? Like
did this actually happen?
Violent video games. Like I even play Grand Theft Auto, but this is fucked up.
I mean, what was good is that I at least told you. Like, I remember first getting the game and putting it in. It's like, hey, by the way, there's a mission that may make you feel really uncomfortable while you're playing this game. And I'm like, nah, I can take anything. Oh yeah, let's just murder everybody in an airport with a light machine gun. Yep, let's do that. Yep, I was like, oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
It was kind of messed up.
I would feel guilty playing it now.
I mean, I don't know. It's part of the story, so I chose to play it. I would play it again if I was doing another campaign run. Now, you see, if you go back and just play that one mission by itself, you're
psychotic.
Yeah, you're a psychopath. But
would have been better if I had an intervention. Just sniping people.
Collateral.
500-person collat.
Jesus.
But all right. So my argument for Modern Warfare 2. So I will argue that it's the greatest game of all time. That's
what?
Hold on.
Okay, I was just kidding.
Time out. Before people start yelling at me. I'm not gonna argue. It's my favorite Call of Duty. I think it doesn't get. I mean, it gets enough credit, but the whole I've noticed recently the argument's like, oh no, it really wasn't a good game, it's just nostalgic. I disagree. There are a lot of things in that game that have not been continued that should have.
No.
Yeah, what do you mean? So hold on. Before you start talking,
do you miss One Man Army grenade launcher, noob?
Yes, I do actually, believe it or not.
Do you miss fucking Juggernaut?
If your argument is simply going to be on multiplayer perks, your argument is literally dead, and I want nothing to do with this debate. But keep going.
You say that for everything, Bob. Right. You're like, oh, your argument's dead. No, shut the fuck up. Let us.
It's not dead because people
it is dead. You're basing it off one mode of the game. You're basing it off
the biggest part.
Not in this one.
Bobby, why do you buy Call of Duty?
Why do I buy Call of Duty?
Yeah, would you spend $60 on it just for the campaign?
If the campaign was good, sure. That's why story games are still big.
You're bullshitting yourself.
No,
okay, if Call of Duty next year were to be like, okay, we're going to make a campaign-only game and we're going to price it at $60, would you buy it?
It depends. It depends on what I'm getting. Hold
just
on.
The campaign.
Let me actually do my argument, you freaking idiot. Let me talk. So
no, I'm ready, baby.
You didn't let me get this out yet. So
I'm ready.
I'll get to the campaign thing in a second. But with Modern Warfare 2, my argument is simply this. I like the feel of the game. I personally really like the feel of the game. It's definitely a lot more cartoony compared to the rest of the games. You go from Modern Warfare 2 to Black Ops 1, there is a completely different feel. You can argue like World at War and Black Ops 1 felt a little more authentic, I guess, just with the times they were based in and whatever. I like those games too. And I like the kind of authentic feel, especially for a game like World at War. But for Modern Warfare 2, it felt like an arcade shooter, which, okay, you may not like. That's completely fine. But to me, that game just felt smooth. Everything just felt right at that game. Like I felt a lot more in control of everything in that game that I did compared to others. And as for the rest of the game itself, I thought the campaign was beautiful. The campaign was awesome. I had a lot of fun. I never got tired of that campaign. The campaigns in recent Call of Duties were pretty lackluster, right? So if you're going to tell me, so if you want to bring up the argument, okay, if Call of Duty said we're going to bring up a $60 campaign-only game, you're right. I may not buy it. But to say that it's not an integral part of the game is BS. It should be improved, and something I hope that they at some point kind of look at and be like, look, it's still a part of the game. Like the World War II campaign, I thought was great. It was awesome. It was awesome being in that setting and doing those missions. But like, I did not care for the Advanced Warfare campaign. I did not care for the Infinite Warfare campaign. I did not play Black Ops 3, so I can't really say.
Black Ops 3 campaign was kind of a flop.
Okay, I figured this because you're right. The multiplayer is the biggest part of Call of Duty, and deservedly so. to me, it felt like a complete game, because if you're going to sit there and tell me you don't get tired of multiplayer, you're lying to yourself. So what I want to do is I want to go do something else, even though I do like the game. Right? So a lot of times it would be private match, quick scoping on Rust, of course. But then to me, the Spec Ops add a whole different thing that I can do. And I enjoy the ever-living hell out of them. I still do. I don't get tired of this thing. And I can go and play the campaign again and still be fine. Hell, I'll go into the museum at the end of the goddamn campaign and still do that stuff, man. Like, they had so much in that game. It was absolutely worth the price tag. So, and that was one of the games that, I experienced. Let me preface by saying that was like the first. I was very behind on Call of Duty because I didn't get a 360 till late. That was like the first Call of Duty that I truly experienced when it came out. I was still playing COD.
That was also
4.
mine.
Right, so I was still playing COD 4 up until I don't know, 2 months after MW2 release. Like I did not play World at War until I bought it on PC a year or two ago. Right, so to me, and maybe that's part of my bias, right? Because that was like the first Call of Duty experience. But to say that it was this total trash game, I think it is absurd.
I didn't say it was a trash game. I'm not arguing that. I'm just arguing that it's not the best.
Sure, and that's fine. But I've seen a lot of people say it was a horrible game. It's just the nostalgia brings it back. I don't believe that at all. I think
it had its bullshit that was more annoying than the bullshit in other Call of Duty games to me.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, every game's gonna have its bullshit though, right?
I agree. I'm just saying its bullshit was more annoying than some of the other bullshit out there.
The one-man army noob tube was annoying, sure, but there were a lot of other things that dealt with in Call of Duties that I'd rather deal with the one-man army over. And I get the one-man army is such a meme.
No, man, I'll take the FAMAS from Black Ops 1 over one-man army any day of the week.
Man?
Dude.
Oh, my God.
That grenade launcher, you can't do anything against that, dude.
But at least with the noob tube thing, though, it's kind of like it was something that I feel like everybody hated, right? And then the players who were kind of doing that were kind of these outcasty players, where it's like something like a broken gun, like the FAMAS and Black Ops 1, like competitive players were using that, and you play it because you know it's good, right? I mean, the one-man army thing wasn't necessarily good, it was just annoying.
I've got an entirely different discussion on the FAMAS.
Yeah, we could save that for another video.
Another hot take: Zombies was better than Spec Ops.
Yes, no, I don't even think that's a hot take,
honestly.
They're both very good.
No, I'm just saying that I wish Infinity Ward would have, since they're not, or they weren't at the time doing the whole zombies thing, they should have continued doing on Spec Ops in their future games. Like, I would have loved to have seen Modern Warfare 3 include a more in-depth Spec Ops thing, because I like those things. I mean, hell, I can't remember the name of the snow stealth mission is awesome.
I thought that Modern Warfare 3 Spec Ops was severely underrated. I actually really liked it.
I don't even remember it. I know I did them, but I don't. Compared to MW2, I honestly.
Oh yeah, nothing compares to MW2 Spec Ops, but I think MW3 is like a close second.
Right, and then it's kind of fell off, right? Which I get it, because Activision makes the game every other year, and then they include the zombies. Which why spend the time to make zombies Spec Ops? Or I'm sorry, yeah, Treyarch. I'm sorry. But for Infinity Ward, I don't know why they wouldn't have really focused on the Spec Ops part, because, I mean, everybody will do the campaign, sure, and everybody will play the multiplayer. That's what most people buy Call of Duty for. But to me, that's another mode that just makes the $60 price tag that much worth it. If you include another part of the game that you spend some time on and it's a little more unique. Right. I mean, we've complained about Call of Duty for a while, at least I have, because it's kind of been very cut and dry, and I think goddamn jetpacks. I love Halo, and I love the kind of the higher jumps and everything like that, but the jetpacks and exosuits just
I actually really like Black Ops 3 though. One of my favorite Call of Duties.
I can't have an opinion because I didn't play it, especially in its prime. So I really can't have an opinion on it, but I'll take your word for it, because I mean, I think for the most part, the enjoyment we get out of the Call of Duties each year are one and the same, especially since we both play competitively, or at least attempt to.
Right.
But so that's the end of my argument. I really think it's the best one that to me, and we can say it's nostalgia, but I honestly, in terms of worth the $60 price tag and the amount of fun that I had on that game and the feel of that game, to me, everything was hit like nail on the head, at least to me. So I'll let you two have the floor, because I know we don't want to spend too much more time on this, but
All right. Well,
I'll
I'll try to be quick. So obviously the multiplayer talk. Sorry, I was reading something. The whole multiplayer aspect of the game is the biggest aspect of the game. Like if Call of Duty were to release just multiplayer, which is what they're doing this year, if they were to like just release a multiplayer thing for $60, people would still buy it because there's a significant portion of the community that just play the multiplayer and don't even touch the campaign.
You're right.
Like, yeah, prime example.
I openly admit that I do not play the campaign on Call of Duty. I play the multiplayer. That's what I buy the game for.
In terms of Call of Duty, though, I think Modern Warfare 2 is probably the most imbalanced game I've ever played. And take your finger off that hot take button, Bobby.
Kiss my ass.
But no, it is absolutely unbalanced. If you are, I understand like back then, like kill streaks like were kind of like a new concept. Like it started out with like the 3, 5, and 7 in the COD 4 and World at War, and then in Modern Warfare 2, they introduced all these huge kill streaks that could stack, and then of course the infamous nuke that anyone can get nowadays.
Oh, by the way, I just have to say something real quick. Sorry. I played my first 2 games I played on Modern Warfare 2 backwards compatible, like on Xbox. But like the 2 first games, somebody got a nuke in.
Yep.
I forgot about that. Sorry, I just had to add that.
All right. Well, no, you're fine. But honestly, like if you could get a 7 kill streak, which is quite honestly not very difficult in Modern Warfare 2 anymore, you're basically guaranteed a nuke, because especially if you have something like Danger Close Pro, where you get a Chuck Norris enhanced fucking Harrier strike, and then a fucking AC-130 or a chopper gunner, also Chuck Norris enhanced, and then a tactical nuke, which fucking ends the game. Like that's a terrible concept. If that game were to be released today, it would flop so hard, and like they would seriously lose money. Like, which is why it's a good thing it was released earlier when people could take the bullshit. Because Modern Warfare 2, quite honestly, it was innovative. It was new. It was a great idea. But if that were to be released today, it would not do well at all.
Okay, so one thing I want to counter you with. So, in terms of the if it was released today, it would flop. I mean, you're right in a sense that if we're comparing it to the Call of Duty, like let's just say that Modern Warfare 2 is going to be the newest Call of Duty being released, like this upcoming October or whatever. So that means let's call Modern Warfare 3 something else, so we're not being weird about it. So that means you would have had Black Ops, you would have Modern Warfare 3, you would have had Ghosts, Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, and Infinite Warfare, as well as remastered COD 4.
And we're talking about it in terms of just multiplayer, right?
Right. So if Modern Warfare 2 was released after those games, I'm sure it would be like, did you guys take a complete step backwards? But I'm not looking at it for the. I said earlier, and you guys agree with me, that every game is going to have its BS. So let's say that it was going to be released around this year, right? So if it gets released this year, and the one-man army thing starts to happen, of course, people are going to get upset. But they're still going to deal with it. And the people are still really going to play this game. The only thing I can see everybody knocking is the feel of the game. Because at this point, we are at these ultra high-tech, high-quality movements and graphics and everything else. So just the look of the game would make it flop. But I don't think the actions inside of multiplayer itself would drive people away from this game, because there's always something wrong with each of these games. So, like Infinite Warfare, how many hours did you honestly put into that game?
Zip.
Maybe 7.
Yeah, exactly. So that game comes out, and so now here's the thing: most people bought it. Yeah, they only bought it to get COD 4 remaster.
I did.
Which is exactly what I did. So people literally bought a new game to play a past game, even though COD 4 had its own thing. And let's be honest, the kill streaks were there at the time. There was only 3 of them, and there's only so much you can do. The real big thing they added into the remastered version of COD 4 were the skins in the crates. Like, that's it. And people still played the hell out of that game. Again, how many years later? So, I compared to everything else, sure. But the fact of the matter is, everybody knows Call of Duty has been on the decline since, I would say, Ghosts. Even though it's very hit or miss whether you think Ghosts is a good or a bad game, and that's all fine and dandy. But nobody liked Infinite Warfare, and that game still came out. And the only reason the sales numbers went up for that was because they packaged Call of Duty 4 Remastered.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know if I buy that argument.
We'll let Zach talk real quick because he has to get out of here in a few minutes. But
he has to leave the studio.
He has to leave
the studio. Yeah.
But yeah, Zach, go ahead.
Zook is leaving the building.
I agree with Brendy in terms of it being like really unbalanced. And I want to say I remember people complaining about this when at the time when the game was actually popular and it was being played. Noob tubes were a problem from the start of the game, from the get-go. I don't think they ever did anything about it.
No. Here's what's funny about that, though. It became
the UMP was stopping power. That was the UMP 45 was stopping power. That was annoying.
Shoot someone across the map with that damn thing.
I just want to say it had unlimited range. Like, the game had so many problems, and I still played it. I still had a great time playing it. I'm not going to say it was a bad game because I will agree with you, Bobby. It was a good game for the time that it came out, and if it came out today, it would flop.
Yes, I just want to say real quick, the UMP in Modern Warfare 2 is the reason why I still buy UMPs in CSGO so often. I love that UMP. I know. I could take people. Oh my god, it was over. It was over. You put the silencer on that, and you have stopping power and steady aim, and I probably ran Marathon as first perk just because.
And the fact that you could spray the Barrett, which is a 50 caliber rifle, blow your arm off, dude.
Yeah, I just and your guy's running around with that Barrett like it's so light. Like you're not shooting from a tripod stand. You are actively like across the map with a sniper rifle.
Some people had those motherfucking trigger fingers, bro.
Oh, but dude,
remember mods back in the day?
I know. That's what I was
so
about to say.
What do you mean back in the day?
They're
still there.
I know, but Modern Warfare 2 was famous for a few reasons. One, that was the game you knew all the toxic Xbox Live parties would be on, and then obviously the intervention and everything. But the other thing was 1,600 Microsoft points for a 10th Prestige hack lobby, and then the people who would get modded controllers. We know somebody who bought a modded controller. Yeah, was just using trigger fingers. So every time you got a Barrett, it was absurd.
Do that again, Bobby.
Bobby could be a rapper with that. But yeah, it's
you could be the fourth Migo.
just to be clear, Bobby, I agree with that. That's kind of where modding started. But just to be clear, it transitioned into Black Ops 1. There's nothing worse than seeing someone running around with a Spaz 12,
Spaz 12.
Yeah.
I know. I just would argue that Modern Warfare 2, since it started it, that's kind of what you think of when you hear mods and hack lobbies and everything. I mean, they happen in every single COD that gets released. I mean, I went to Black Ops 2 a few months ago, and any lobby you get into, there's purple text and people flying through the sky, and I'm D-ranking somehow. It doesn't make any sense.
On my Call of Duty 4 game, it got hacked. But the only thing that got hacked was the message board when you go into the game.
Oh my god!
Yeah. So now it permanently says, "I'm a blow to powder, run shit." The guy's gamer tag is "I'm a blow to powder," and it just says he runs shit. All right, I guess I'm a blow to powder is the king now.
I don't know. I mean, the thing with, I just want to go back to a point real quick. I will admit the new tubes are annoying and Modern Warfare 2, but I feel obviously after the game died, people were using it literally every game. But in its prime, maybe I don't know. This is just my opinion. It could be completely different from you guys, but I didn't feel like people used it that.
Oh, yes, they did, man.
No, yeah, they did. What the fuck
are you kidding me, man? I use a grenade launcher every single game. Why would I not?
I'm talking in terms of how much they used it after the game was out of its prime.
Even more.
That's what I'm saying.
But what's the point after that? Nobody plays it anymore, so of course you're going to do the newbie stuff.
You're missing the point. I'm saying compared to what it was after, it wasn't even as close. I know people still use them. I'm aware of that. But it wasn't in my opinion, it wasn't that bad.
People didn't use them a whole lot when the game like first came out. But like after the game like left its prime, that's when it went to hell with all those fucking grenade launchers.
I would argue though, so like I was making the point earlier, and I don't know if I essentially wrapped it up. So I was talking about how there's a difference between something like the noob tube and one man army thing happening. Like in steady play, it's not. I would say it's seen as good. It's annoying, but it's not necessarily good. Something like the Broken FAMAS and Black Ops 1 is good, right? Like you can go around and drop 50 bombs on games with that, right? But you really can't do that with a noob tube, which is probably why it never got dealt with.
With kill streaks, you could.
What do you mean?
Like what? Like in Modern Warfare? Wait, are you talking about Modern Warfare 2?
Yes.
Yeah, so like with Modern Warfare 2, like just get a few kills with a grenade launcher and you just let your streaks do the rest. That's how you get 100, 200 kills a game.
Right, but like, so here's the thing with the YouTubers is that they have to be. I don't want to say long range, but like if you have like a guy who's like rushing around and you're kind of standing in one spot, just kind of shooting overhead somewhere, you're going to get caught at some point and get shot down, and then you're going to lose your streaks. Right?
Not necessarily.
How do you say?
Because most of the time, people that use those fucking grenade launchers, like they're hiding in like in areas where you can't really get shot, and like as soon as they get a kill, they're like running around to somewhere else that's just as good as a hiding spot. Here's
the thing about those spots, especially in something like Modern Warfare 2. People knew the spots, right? So like if you knew somebody was shooting from somewhere, you knew where to go. It's part of the meta. It's how a game meta works. So I would argue,
and the fact that meta is in the game, though, is why it's completely gone to shit, though.
I would argue, but my main argument is this: is that like, okay, sure, you can probably stack up your score streaks with noob tubes. I don't think it's as easy as you're making it out to be. I really don't.
Admittedly, I've used it before. I know.
We all have, because it's just what you did at that time. It's not a cardinal sin to play the game that way. It's annoying, and I kind of want to beat your head in, but otherwise, it's not like a cardinal sin. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, I don't do it anymore. Trust me.
Oh yeah,
I think that was a good argument. I don't think we solved anything, but at least we got.
I don't know. My opinion is a debate on
opinion. It's a debate on opinion. You know, I don't think that's going to change. We're not trying to debate a fact.
No,
here.
I know.
It's not a climate change argument.
We'll wrap this up because Zach has to get out of here, and then we'll get onto the In Case You Missed It segment.
Alrighty, fellas. Good talking with you. See you next week.
See you next week.
See you next week. All right, so yeah, we're going to move on to the In Case You Missed It segment now after that screaming match. Actually, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I'm not going to lie.
It was
because you didn't have stupid takes this time. You actually had good takes.
Well, when I was excited, what do you want me to tell you when I seen that?
Oh no! If you were to keep on saying that it was the best game ever, that's when I would have like stood up and yelled.
Well, okay, maybe best game ever is a stretch. It was my favorite Call of Duty though. Like
best game ever.
That's a valid point.
But
though.
like I will say, it's top 3 in best games ever. I'm just putting it out there.
Best game ever title belongs to Halo 3, and if anybody disagrees, you can come see me.
That was fun.
Halo Reach.
But that was fun for all the game modes we created.
Oh my god! I swear I had to drink water just to feel my tear ducts from crying so much, like laughing,
Yep.
like in the Halo 3 modes. Like, oh god, we could have a whole podcast about what we did in Halo 3 with the amount of game modes that we did. Honorable mentions: Jaws and Ice Cream Truck. So, all right.
This was way before I went Brendy, but yeah, that could be a whole other podcast. Let's move on before this is 4.5 hours. So, Brendy, you can go ahead with In Case You Missed It.
All right, so I've got a variety of stories for you today. And first, we're going to start off in California, and just to be clear, not to be confused with Disney World. It has been announced just today, actually, that Disneyland will begin to serve alcohol in the Star Wars section of the park. Now, Disney World has obviously they have their whole like a Club 33 thing on the New Orleans Square. where they actually serve alcohol, where it has like that long ass waiting list you guys know about, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But this is the first time that Disneyland has decided, hey, we're going to start serving alcohol, and it's restricted to the Star Wars section. Now, should more amusement parks do this, do you guys think?
I'll say my opinion first. No, because like, I mean,
keep in mind that's about as family friendly as you can get.
Well, this is what I'm getting to. Like, okay, I'm gonna say this, and I'm talking about the 99% of people. I'm not talking about the 1%. Like, you go there to Disneyland or like an amusement park with your kids. Like, you're not going by yourself as a 44-year-old man. Like, hopefully, again, there might be that 1%, but I'm just saying for the 99%, like, you're going there for your kids' reasons. Like, if you need the drink to have a good time around your kids, maybe you have some other issues. But yeah, it's for the kids, man. Like, why do you need alcohol? Like, spend some time with your kids, watch them on rides, have a good time.
Okay, I'm gonna go on the other side of the spectrum on this one. So I'm gonna disagree with you on a couple of things. One, it's okay. Yes, it's supposed to be family friendly, and we translate family friendly into kid friendly and meant for the kids, right? I understand that whole thing. But so I was just in Disney World a few weeks ago, right, and down in Florida. So they have a lot of rides that kind of give you like the kind of brief history things of Walt Disney and what his vision for Disney World and Disneyland were, right? So part of what they kept making a point about is that he wanted a place where kids and their parents could both enjoy themselves, right? Because there's a bunch of parks that you can just take your kids to and let your kids roam free, but the parents really don't do anything because one, maybe they can't even get on the rides because they're all, really small for like little kids, you know what I mean? But Disney World is supposed to be something completely different, right?
Mhm.
Like, to me, you don't have to have a kid to go there. My uncle even goes there with my uncle and aunt both go there. Just they don't have any kids. They go down there just because it's nice down there, right? I mean, and they're probably not spending the entire time in the parks. They're probably on the downtown Disney stuff or some of the beaches around or whatever. But to say that it's just for the kids is I think a little too short sighted because it is supposed to be for everybody. And I'm sure. I'm sure a group of guys or just friends in general that are older than 18 are going to go there to see the princesses. I'm sure, but the rides that are there, I mean, anybody can ride them. I mean, I was going on with our buddy's dad and mom and family and all that, and they were they weren't kids. I mean, I went on with my little sisters and all that too.
Hold on, I'm sorry, because now that you're saying it like this, I do see how my point is bad, but what I actually meant was like in the kids section. Like, so for Disney World, you have like downtown Disney and like I would even say like Epcot, like the countries, like in those places, like yeah, I don't mind serving alcohol because a lot of it is like a lot of adults go there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm merely talking about like I'm trying to think
Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, but like even there's parts of Magic Kingdom where like they have big rides, but I can't think of what it's called. Like this section there, but there's like one area that
it's Tomorrowland.
Yeah. Like there's a couple that are a lot like strictly like there's a lot of rides for kids and like in those areas because like I guess I'll kind of go with my personal experience and like Bobby might be able to test this too. Like we live in Jersey and when we go down to the Jersey Shore, like Wildwood is like the main beach down there. It's got the boardwalk and stuff like that, which is famous and stuff like that. Like there's like so much alcohol served now and like stuff like that, and it's kind of gotten trashy into the sense where like it's almost like almost too trashy. I don't know. At least that's my experience with it. Like I remember like prom weekend, obviously a lot of people got messed up like in our group, but like there was even more people there that were just on the boardwalk at like 10 o'clock at night who were like drunk as a skunk and like literally just couldn't even hold themselves up. And like those are the points where you have kids there, that those are the times where it's like, okay, this is a little much. Like I understand, like again, if it's in Disney World, again, like I said, I know this is for Disneyland, Disney World, like downtown Disney or Epcot, I do agree with that. What I really meant to say was like in the kids sections. That I don't agree with.
Well, keep in mind it's only like limited to one section right now.
Yeah,
but that doesn't sound
it's
like
not
a
like
kids
you can
section.
just go there and just buy one wherever you want to.
right.
I want to point out real quick though. That's not the only place you can buy alcohol, at least in Disney World. Right? I know we're talking about Disneyland, but at Disney World, any restaurant you go to, any of the ones I went into, you can buy drinks.
Right.
Yeah, like you said, we were talking about Disneyland, but yeah, like in Disney World, like I don't know.
And I think those that like get like totally, those irresponsible drinkers shouldn't speak on behalf of those who just want to have a few drinks while they're out with their family. And I see nothing wrong with that. I mean, as long as they're not getting in a car with their kids on the way back, and as long as they're not putting their kids in bad spots or just being just total asshats, I don't see any problem with just them grabbing a couple drinks. So, good on them. You know what? Go grab a few and do some Star Wars rides. Try not to get sick.
All right. Well, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next story. And this one involves something that I think you two can probably relate to. So this has to do with Joel Embiid.
Trust the goddamn process.
Probably the best basketball player of all time, next to Brian Scalabrine.
Oh my god!
It's
How did you just say that out loud? How did you just say that out loud?
You don't question the GOAT, dude. Okay. Anyway, so Joel Embiid has written an article for the Players Tribune where he was talking about his early high school days, learning American culture, and trying to get Bill Self to redshirt him. And of course, like how he learned to shoot, like specifically three-pointers with good form. And this is what he said. I'm going to read this section of the article to you guys. It says, "So I'm chilling one night, and I go on YouTube, and I'm thinking about to figure this shooting thing out. I go to the search box like, how to shoot three-pointers? Nah. How to shoot good form? Nah. Then the light bulb went off, man. I typed in the magic words. White people shooting three-pointers." and then he goes on to say, "Listen, I know it's a stereotype, but have you seen a normal 30-year-old white guy shoot a three-pointer? That elbow is tucked, man. The knees are bent. The follow-through is always perfect. You hear?" So,
wow.
That's awesome.
So, Bobby, you've probably watched more Joel Embiid than I have. Would you say that this has worked for him?
He's the face of the damn franchise. What do you want right now? Seriously. And with all the issues with freaking, oh my god, with freaking, oh my god.
Fultz.
Why am I losing name? Fultz. I don't know why I lost his name for a second there. With all the issues with Fultz, he was kind of relied on for the shooting role. But I mean, he's the face of the franchise. He literally is what's selling the seats because of the whole process movement, which I know Stephen A. Smith has a problem with. You can come see me, Stephen A.
Oh shit!
He's whatever worked for him has brought him to the NBA as the face of the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't care if he learned it from some homeless guy in the middle of the Bronx. I don't care. Whatever worked, and maybe he needs to go show Fultz a thing or two. But
so
I mean,
like he's one of those players too, like that the league is kind of transitioning to, like the big guy that can shoot threes. So like, and he's a good 3-point shooter. So hey, man, whatever works. But I will say, and this is not supposed to come off racist, but I feel like every good basketball team has to have that one guy, that one white guy that can shoot threes. Every team has to have.
No, you're completely right.
No, dude, are you shit? Literally every team, like I'm going to go to college basketball here, and I'm a Michigan fan, so I know this really well. Like their team was good, but they had a 3-point shooter, white guy, Duncan Robinson, who's now in the NBA. Dude, like I forget the stat, but when he scored 6 points or more, I think they were like 29-0 or something like that in his tenure. Yeah, I forget the stat, but that was a big thing. And then, of course, in that the championship game where they ended up getting blown out, he did not score 6 points. And what happened? They lost by 20. So, dude, like you gotta have that white guy that can shoot threes.
Real quick
ingredient.
Real quick, can you tell me again what the search? He said the search was on YouTube.
Yeah, it was white people shooting 3-pointers.
Okay, I'm gonna look this up. I want to see what comes up.
That's great though.
I want to see
Alright.
what comes up.
All right, well, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next story.
The top. This is actually kind of funny. The top result is an NBA video from about a year ago called "Best 3-Pointers from Big Men During the 2017 NBA Season."
All right, well,
And then
probably didn't click on that one.
Second one is GoPro 3-point world record. That was about a year ago. And 5 years ago, there's a video of a kid, an OSU fan, who makes a half-court shot to win $100. So.
Are there white people in the thumbnails?
The kid's white. And also Awesomeness TV with 5 years ago. How to shoot a 3-pointer with NBA pro Kevin Love.
Okay, so yes.
How to be awesome.
There you go.
And their How to Be Awesome series.
There you go.
There you go.
Probably what I watched right there.
That's the video. That's it right there. Kevin Love taught Joel Embiid how to shoot 3.
All right, moving on to the finals. Moving on to the final story. So I'm sure you guys know about Usain Bolt. You may or may not have heard of him.
I haven't heard of him because he blew right by me before I even had a chance to look at him.
Oh, okay. Well, you should look him up when you get the chance.
Okay.
So anyway, you guys might know this, but Usain Bolt has attracted attention from other sports outside of his track record. For example, he has received offers to come practice for certain soccer clubs, and one soccer club in particular actually signed him and decided, you know what, we're going to put him on the field. Mm-hmm. That soccer club is in Australia. They're called the Central Coast Mariners, and they decided to put Usain Bolt on the roster as an unlimited sub. Sorry, I already said that wrong. As a sub, and in the Australian League, they have unlimited subs, so he was able to come in and actually get a few touches. Now, I haven't really seen much footage on him, so I can't really say whether he played well. But what is this? Do you think he could actually have success in the A-League?
So I gotta say, I'm a big soccer fan, and I actually seen this. It was on Twitter today. His first, they literally showed his first touch on the field, and it was god awful.
Yeah,
it was not good. But from what I've heard, I didn't watch the game. There's no access to Australian soccer. Not that I would want to watch it anyway, but apparently he played okay. He created some chances, but funny
thing is, if that touch was good, that would have been a goal.
Yeah, and you know what? Obviously, I can't even bash the guy because the fact that he got signed to a team and he's doing this after his success in the Olympics, good for him. But, I don't. Do I think he's going to have a lot of success? To be honest with you, no. I could see him getting, released sometime down the road. I could be completely wrong, which would be awesome for me to see. I would love to see him do good, but realistically,
Right, and I'm seeing a lot of folks on Twitter. I'm seeing. You guys know that that meme of Bart Simpson with the cake that says "At least you tried."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what people are posting about Usain Bolt in the A-League right now.
You really can't bash the guy, though. You really can't. I mean, he said he wanted to play soccer. I remember he said that right after he retired from running, that he wanted to get into soccer. So I didn't know he actually got signed and played a game. I didn't know anything about that.
It
just happened recently. Yeah,
it was just earlier today or yesterday.
Yeah, I had no idea. So I mean, good for him. I liked him a lot. I think he was a stand-up guy and whatever, and he was obviously incredible in the Olympics. Literally the best runner that the Olympics has ever seen. Do I think he's? I mean, again, I haven't seen much footage either. But I mean, if he played okay, I don't see why he couldn't stay in the league, in Australia or something like that. Do I see him in the Premier League or Liga or the MLS? Probably not. But
I hope not.
But I mean, hell, if he can, make a living, just playing in one of the lower level leagues, and he's good enough for it, then Godspeed to him. Why not?
Right. Well, I guess we'll see what happens with his career from now on.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that will conclude in case you missed it. So moving on.
Yeah, and we're going to go to our last thing here. We got some more predictions after our very insightful and so useful predictions last week about the NFL. We're going to go to some different football here, some college football. we are recording on a Friday, the 31st of August. The season kicked off yesterday with UConn and UCF.
That wasn't much of a game, man.
No, yeah. So we basically what we have here is we're going to have our predictions for the championship games for the Power 5 conferences, and then we also have the playoff predictions, the 4 seeds for the playoffs. I'm gonna preface this by saying, like, Brendy is probably the most knowledgeable about college football. I watch college football, but the thing about me is, like, there's so many games and it's hard to keep up with. That's going to change this year. Like, I told myself last year I wanted to get into college football big time this year. It's just that, I might not have full insight. So I just want to say that again, we're just kind of having a fun time with this. And I mean, the big thing for us is I kind of want to see, like, for all the predictions we're going to make for, the sports, just to see what happens. But yeah, we're going to start with this. So I guess we'll run it down like this. We'll start with the SEC, go to the ACC, Big 12, Big 10, and then Pac-12. And then like I said, we're just going to give our championship matchup, and then we'll move on to the playoffs. So I guess we'll start with Brendy, and then we'll go to Bobby, and then I'll say mine. So yeah, Brendy, if you want to start with the SEC championship.
Okay, you want me to just start with SEC and then go to Bobby?
Yeah. So we'll do it like we did the NFL prediction. So yeah, go to SEC, then go to Bobby, and then around, and then we'll go to the next one.
Okay, so I believe I've got my picks for the SEC championship. I've got them as Alabama and South Carolina. I'm going to start over in the West. I believe that the West is going to be a lot closer this year than it's ever been. I believe Auburn has a legitimate chance at essentially dethroning Alabama. And they're, I know they basically did it last year, but if they can get it consistently, I believe Auburn may be the next team to beat in the SEC. But I don't necessarily know if I think it's going to happen this season. I believe Alabama is just too overpowered of a team right now. And not necessarily overpowered. I just believe that they are the best team in the SEC currently. And as far as the East is concerned, this was kind of a toss-up between about 2 or 3 teams. And I ultimately decided to go with South Carolina because I'm not necessarily a believer in Jake Fromm. He has obviously shown his flashes of greatness, and obviously went to a national championship. But I'm not sold on Jake Fromm. I really, really like Jake Bentley, who's the quarterback for the Gamecocks. I believe he has great things to show for, and if there's any team I see coming out of the East, it's going to be South Carolina, but I do believe it's going to be very, very close. Probably it's either going to be tied or decided by a single game or 2.
Okay. Bobby?
Okay, so again, I am one of those people who doesn't follow college football to the T. So my take my picks with a grain of salt, but I did differ in the SEC just a little bit. I have Alabama again because why don't you? Mm-hmm. And instead of South Carolina, I do have Georgia. I have it for a couple of reasons. One, I am sold on Jake Fromm. I am sold on that, and also I honestly think that Georgia's just kind of due for getting here at this point. I mean, they're one of those teams that just kind of, they ride the high horse all season, and then they end up getting to the playoffs, and then they end up just.
Bobby, if I can interrupt just for a second, I just realized Jake Fromm hasn't actually been named the starter yet. It's a tie-up between him and Justin Fields, who are both 5-star recruits. But it's currently looking like Jake Fromm. That's what I to say.
I would assume it would be Jake Fromm, though. I mean, he has to be. I mean, is the other guy a true freshman? Is that the other guy?
Yeah, he just signed to Georgia last season.
Okay.
And so this will be his redshirt freshman year, probably.
Right, and then I mean, Jake Fromm's already had kind of experience, and I could see him doing well for himself, especially getting a whole season under his belt.
Right.
He got put in because of Jacob Eason getting hurt. But I honestly think he could do well, and I honestly think he could help Georgia kind of get over the hump to get to the SEC championship. Now, do I think they'll beat Alabama? No, I don't think they're there yet. I don't think any team in the SEC is there yet. We may see it soon. I know Auburn's been mentioned. Auburn's always been Alabama's kind of kryptonite. I mean, who can forget a few years ago the missed field goal return that Auburn put up against
Auburn's
Alabama?
going to win the football game.
That is one. I say this all the time. I cite that as one of the best sports calls of all time. I remember being in my room when watching that when that happened, and Twitter blew. I've never seen a blow like that. It was insane. So that's my SEC.
And then I have actually the same as Bobby's. Not really surprised. Alabama and Georgia have been the premier teams in the SEC for years now. With Alabama, it's going to be an interesting case because they lost most or it's either most or all of their secondary from last year. So they had Minka Fitzpatrick back there, obviously a top pick. Anthony Everett, who is actually a guy who is a town over from me and Bobby. So that's kind of cool. He got drafted by the Ravens this year. One of my favorite players just because not a lot of people come from our area and make it in the NFL. So yeah, it's going to be cool for that. And then with Georgia, they lost Nick Chubb, obviously in the backfield, Sony Michel, but I think Jake Fromm with another year under his belt, I think that'll, that experience over the season, again, assuming he starts, will translate well. Again, I think Georgia obviously has a lot of subtractions with players going in the NFL. You got, Roquan Smith, obviously on defense, the big loss there. But no, I still think these two are the teams to beat in the SEC. And this year, I don't see anything changing. All right, now we're going to move on to the ACC. Brendy, with your picks.
All right, so I'm going to start off with the obvious choice. I've got Clemson on one side, and then on the other side, I have Virginia Tech. The reason for Clemson, it just seems like every year, they lose a lot of their star players, and then they come back the next year and they're just as good or even better. And I cannot figure out their formula at all. And if I could, I would strongly recommend someone study film and how the hell they fucking do it every single fucking year. But it's funny that you mentioned that because just a few years ago, before they were consistently ranked in the top 5, there's always this term going around called Clemsoning, which was you would perform well each year and then you would lose to a terrible team like Georgia Tech and then flop afterwards. That would happen. But now, after they got over this hump, now they're actually a contender every single year. So I've got Clemson, and I've got Virginia Tech. The main reason I have Virginia Tech over every other team is because I believe they have a really interesting. So loud. They have a really interesting situation at quarterback going on, and I'm really sold on their defense and their whole spread offense scheme. And they've got I think with their defense, it's going to eventually carry them over who most people probably pick in the Coastal Division, Miami. But I've got Virginia Tech coming out of the Coastal.
All right, go ahead, Bobby.
I have the same as Brendy. Clemson and Virginia Tech, not sold on Miami yet. That's really all it is. And then if I'm not sold on Miami, there's really nobody else that is really going to come up and take it from Virginia Tech. I basically agree with everything that Brendy said, so I really had nothing more to add with that. I have Clemson and Virginia Tech as my ACC as well.
And I have the exact same thing. So Clemson's obvious, I think they're going to be one of the teams obviously contending for the title. Their defensive line is insane. They have 4 guys that could be drafted in the first round next year in the NFL draft. They ranked number 4 in total defense in 2017. 2017, holy shit. And they get 8 starters back. So I think they'll be fine. And the thing, so I originally had Miami and I changed it to Virginia Tech, and the reason why is Miami has somewhat of a quarterback situation with Rozier. Is he the guy? Is he not? So yeah, I think that's gonna be their issue. My whole theory about football is the quarterback carries you. So if that's gonna be a problem with them quarterback wise, I think Virginia Tech takes the other spot. All right, now we will move on to the Big 12.
All right, so for the Big 12 championship, I've got Oklahoma. I know there's a lot of question marks with them after the Baker Mayfield going to the NFL, but I think they can overcome that. I believe they have a lot of great options, and I believe they've got a great staff and a great recruiting class, and I think they're certainly going to be I certainly think they're going to be one of the top teams. And as the other side, I've got TCU, and there's one reason I have TCU, and that's I am hyped for Sean Robinson. I believe he's one of the best quarterbacks in this class overall, and I believe he's going to bring TCU great things.
All right, Bobby.
Okay, so I have in my Big 12 the exact same thing, Oklahoma and TCU. I'm going, again, I don't know the inner workings of the Big 12 too much, especially of these two teams, but based on some things that I was reading, first of all, TCU has a big ranking in basically every single poll you look at, especially the AP Top 25 as well as the coaches poll. So I'm going off that momentum, and you know what? I'll hop on the hype train that Brendy is on, and I'll say Oklahoma TCU. The other contender, I guess, would be for TCU would be what's it called? Oklahoma State, but I don't think they have the power. So,
and I have the same exact thing. The Big 12 is actually kind of interesting because I think it's weaker than it has been in years, prior years. At least in my opinion, I don't know, but yeah, I think Oklahoma again. They're going to be a interesting case just because of Baker Mayfield leaving. The eventual number 1 overall pick in the NFL. But I just can't see anybody besides these two teams taking the conference. So I have the same exact thing. Moving right along here, we got the Big Ten. Brendy, you can go ahead.
Right, and unfortunately, much to the dismay of Bobby, I do not have Michigan in the championship game.
And Tyler.
But I do not have Michigan in the Big Ten championship.
Asshole.
I've got Penn State, and the same reason why I have Penn State is kind of the same reason I have TCU. Trace McSorley he's a beast. He's got a history of winning, and I believe he's going to translate that very well to Penn State. And I believe this is going to be the year where Penn State actually makes an appearance. This is probably going to be, I would imagine, Trace McSorley's last season before he goes to the NFL. I could be wrong, but we'll see.
I agree.
So yeah, I've got Penn State, and then Wisconsin. Wisconsin's interesting. I believe overall they have probably the most complete team in all of college football. Sorry, did I say Wisconsin?
You did.
Okay, cool. But yeah, sorry, I couldn't remember if I said Washington or Wisconsin. I was thinking of the next part. But I think Wisconsin is the most complete team in college football. And coming back from a 13-1 season, last season, I believe that this season is going to be just as good, if not even better. I definitely see them as a possible contender for the college football playoff.
It doesn't helps their case that the Big Ten West is very weak.
Exactly.
I will add that. Now, one thing I want to ask you about Penn State is, what do you think the loss of Saquon is going to do? I know you have them winning the, going into the Big Ten championship game, but how do you think that's going to affect them?
In terms of Saquon Barkley, you said?
Yeah, because he was their guy, and he obviously led them last year. Like, I just kind of want to get your take on that.
It's a bit hard to tell because I believe that they have a loaded offensive line.
They do. Yeah.
So I believe whatever running back, probably not going to be as good as Saquon Barkley, but I definitely do think that whatever running back fills in his spot is going to have a good time because of that offensive line.
Yeah. All right, Bobby, go ahead.
Okay, so you can, this is going to be a piping hot take, but in the Big Ten Championship, I have Rutgers and Iowa. So,
Ooh.
No, I am kidding.
Okay.
I was like, what the
I am absolutely kidding. No, I have Wisconsin as well, but I am going to say Michigan takes the East and goes to the Big Ten Championship simply because they finally have their freaking QB situation worked out. So now that everything's got worked out, Michigan, I feel like everything's going to kind of fall into place for them, and you may see them start climbing. And I don't think Penn State really has anything behind them anymore. Yeah, you're right; their offensive line is stacked, but without Barkley, I don't know how much damage they can actually do. So I have Michigan.
And I actually have different from both of you. I have Wisconsin, of course. Like I said, the Big Ten West is, they're the team there. And as much as this hurts me to say, I have Ohio State coming out. It hurts. It does. It hurts. But I do. That defense led by Nick Bosa, one of the guys who is up for number one pick, I think will lead them. Again, being a Michigan fan hurts to say, but I do like their team. It'll be interesting, their quarterback situation this year. But I do like their running backs as well, so we'll see. But yeah, those are my picks. I would like to see Michigan. Like I said, I like Shea Patterson coming over. Finally got that QB figured out, but yeah, I have Ohio State. And the last one we have here is the Pac-12 championship game. And Brendy, again, you can take it.
All right, so I'll be completely honest. The Pac-12 is probably the conference I personally know the least about. Mm-hmm. And it's on the other fucking side of the country. Why would I? So I've got Washington. I don't believe that that's necessarily I don't necessarily believe that that's a hot take. I think Washington is just as complete as Wisconsin is. Maybe not as complete, but I definitely think they're going to contend for at least the Pac-12 title. And then I had a long time. It was hard for me to decide for who was going to come out against Washington, and I decided that this is a little weird, but I decided I was going to go with Utah. And the reason for that is they have a very experienced head coach in Kyle Whittingham. And they definitely had, to say the least, a very underwhelming season last season. However, I have this certain, and it's hard to make this pick from a gut standpoint, but I somewhat have a good feeling with their, they got multiple offensive schemes. I have a good feeling that this is going to be the year that they may represent the South Division in the Pac-12.
All right. Bobby?
Okay, so what I have over here is, again, I'm all right here. I mean, I already kind of proved this earlier that I don't know too much in the terms of depth for college football. But for the Pac-12, I have Washington, USC, and that's basically solely off power rankings. Washington's kind of a staple in the Pac-12, and they still are. Every ranking has them included high up. They're a solid team. And then USC also is coming in at the mid end of the power rankings, so they could be legitimate contenders. So I have them in the Pac-12.
And I have the same thing. I have Washington and USC. So I will say with the USC pick, it was kind of up in the air for me. They lost their star player, Sam Darnold, to the draft. So their quarterback situation is going to be interesting. JT Daniels has been named the starting QB, and he is a true freshman. So that'll be interesting. The case for me with them is honestly, I don't really know I'm just not sold on the other teams in their division. Utah, I was thinking, would be the other team, but I ultimately went with USC, and then Washington on the other side. I mean, that's their division to lose.
Sam Darnold is the one reason I did not have USC coming out of the South.
Well, like I said, again, it's going to be interesting with the quarterback. I don't know. I wasn't really convinced with any team in that division.
Understandably.
Honestly. I think whoever comes out of it is going to get smashed by Washington in the conference championship game. But yeah, and then with Washington, that's a really good team, man. I actually like their team a lot. Their secondary is one of the most elite in college football. Last year they held opponents to 16.1 points a game last season. And again, that's secondary, like I said. Now, the interesting case with Washington is their first game of the season, I think, is going to make or break their season in terms of the college football playoffs. They play Auburn week 1. If they lose that game, they are in trouble. If they win that game, and they do what they're supposed to do for the rest of the year, I have them in the college football playoffs, but that first game is going to make or break it for me.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then real quick, we're going to have just do the our playoff the college football playoffs. We have the 4 teams in there that we think are going to make it. I didn't initially give my champion, but if you guys want to, then we can. Doesn't matter.
I'm going to leave my champion out of it. I'm just going to do my top 4.
Yeah, because I was going to say I didn't have it, but I wanted to see with you guys. So, Brendy, you can take the floor.
All right. So, number 1, I think number 1 and number 2, you could easily switch around and it wouldn't be much of a debate. Number 1, I've got Clemson. Number 2, I've got Alabama. For me, those are kind of consensus college football playoff picks unless something goes terribly wrong for them. And then at number 3, I've got Penn State. I'm really high on Penn State. I believe that they are high and above the best team in the Big Ten. And then number 4, I've got a hot take. I've got TCU. Because like I said, I am a believer in Sean Robinson. He will bring TCU great things.
All right, Bobby, go ahead.
All right. So I agree with Brendy with Alabama, Clemson. I'm gonna have the same there. And then on the 3rd seed, I'll take Wisconsin.
All right.
I think they're a legitimate contender. I don't even think I had to really defend that one. And then on my number 4, I'm not sold on TCU going further than the Big 12, so I'm gonna take Oklahoma on that one.
All right, and then mine. Consensus here, Clemson and Alabama. I have Clemson 1. Just again, that defensive front is scary. I think that's going to get them the 1 seed. I have Alabama 2. Like I said, Georgia 3. That's going to be an interesting one. I'm not. I have them at 3, and I think they're going to be. I think they're ultimately going to be there, but you never know with what you're going to see out of Jake Fromm. Like I said, I think he'll have a good year, but we'll see. And then the 4th seed, I have Washington. Like I said, that defense is elite. So
you're high in Georgia, I see.
I am. You know what? That might be the one I regret, but yeah, I have them there. And it's funny. Obviously, the top 3 I have there has been a staple in college football. You always see the Alabamas, the Clemson, so we'll see.
Right.
But that is our predictions. Thank you for listening to our 4th episode of the podcast. It's been really fun so far. We've really enjoyed it, so we hope you guys equally enjoy it as you listen. Make sure to give this video a like if you like it, and subscribe if you haven't already, and we will catch you guys next time for episode 5.
See you.